Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So, let's dive into it. If videos like this... If videos like this interest you, where I talk about... Well, I fixed my collar. Where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I didn't really have one big overarching topic this week. I guess one thing I've been thinking about is how much news do you pay attention to? And how much do you really need to pay attention to? Kind of something I've been thinking about lately. So, let's dive into let's take a look. Lines got messed up. Leave a comment down below. Let's dive into the pens. I'll get them right. I don't even have the excuse if it's late at night because it's 4 o'clock, so. Okay, after the pens, maybe I'll be calmed down. So these are the pens that I've been using this week from left to right. I have a Toes Penkala Mirna from Croatia, a vintage pen, because it was called Yugoslavia when this pen was made. I have a Visconti Gold Point number 1, one of the pens you bought me. I have a Lamy 2000, Parker 75, Montblanc 225, Aurora 88, bought with my own money, because I think it was with my own money. Maybe that is one you paid for. I don't remember anymore. And this is the first one I used YouTube money on, my Platinum President. I've got some sad news about this pen, so stay tuned for that. And finally, a Pelikan M1000. As always, I will be doing my writing in this Cognitive Surplus notebook. Alright, so my first pen is this very lovely Toes Penkala Mirna, made in Yugoslavia, probably in the late 1960s, early 1970s is my guess, but I don't know that. Piston filler pen, kind of a sort of semi-hooded nib. That sounded really non-committal, but anyway. Pencil Factory of Zagreb. And Penkala was the original and became the new name of the company. Originally it was the Moster Penkala Company, started back in the 20s, I believe, by two men, Edmund Moster and I forget his name. He was Polish. Penkala was his last name anyway. And then the communists took over and turned it into Toes, because communists love exciting names for companies. The ink in this is Japanese. It's Iroshizuku, Tsukushi, it's kind of a nice brown ink, and I've said before I'm trying to use up bottles of ink. This happens to be a small bottle, so this will be an easy victory to use this ink up. And I see I need to zoom out just a teeny bit. Maybe not that much. There we go. Maybe step the exposure down a half stop. There, that looks better. So, vertical, just to get that version of the color. Horizontal. So, it's brown. It's shades, but it's not really the most exciting brown I have. I didn't used to like brown inks at all, but I've mellowed. This just really isn't anything special. So when this bottle is empty, I won't care, and I won't buy another one. My next pen, like I said, you bought me through the YouTube advertising dollars. This is a Visconti Gold Point number 1, very similar to the Visconti Opera Elements Air that I really wanted years ago, but not with all the metal, which is one of the reasons I didn't buy it all those years ago. So Visconti Gold Point number 1. Has a medium nib on it. Another Japanese ink. This one I actually like. a lot better. Kyo-no-oto. Sakuranezumi. Which has something to do with the color of cherry blossoms on a cloudy day. You know, all their inks, although I don't like their sparkly inks and refuse to buy them, are themed on, you know, whatever's in the area of wherever they're based in Japan. I think Kyoto. Might be just saying that because that's a city I know, but I mean, I've never been there, but it's a city I know of in Japan. I should just stop talking. Not making any sense. Alright, so that's the my next pen. The one I've been writing with and I've filled several times already this year. My beloved Lamy 2000. I was very distraught on its first fill how much it would just blurp ink everywhere. But it seems to have solved that problem since that first fill. So I think it was just a pressure thing. I don't know what, but it's writing like I always knew it could. So Lamy 2000, fine point, of course, if I'm going to use it for daily use. The ink in it is Pelikan 4001. Brilliant black. Maybe not the most exciting ink, but for the purposes that I use this pen, it's definitely the appropriate ink. I had a complaint last week that most of my pens were too matchy-matchy with their inks, and this is certainly one of those examples. Whoops, I'm getting too far over. This is certainly one of those examples, because black ink and a black pen, but it just seems right. You know, this is the pen I want to do my daily writing with, so and I want to do my daily writing with black, so here we be. Then I have my Parker 75. I've had this pen since February. It has been inked up a few times since I bought it. Even though I couldn't show them on the channel till I published my video because of my own internal rules. But I've been enjoying it. So this is a Parker 75. Last week you'll remember that the ink was kind of greenish. Now it's getting more toward the proper color. Not totally there yet, but we're working on it. So this is a medium. Is it a medium nib? Shoot, I don't remember. Okay, there's an M on the back. Should be in a medium. And this ink is the Australian Robert Oster Yellow Sunset. With all the, although there's a lot less of it now, but with the smog we've had in the air here, mostly the sunsets have been kind of reddish. So I look forward to that day when I get nice clear yellow sunsets again, because there's no longer all that smog in the air from the fires out west. I've been reading a book lately called Cadillac Desert that's about water in the west and the whole history of it and why we built all those dams out west and irrigating out west and farming out west. And really the western United States is awful. And I can say that because I live in the western United States. You know, North Dakota is a western state. Maybe not as western as, like, Texas or something. It's not snapping on. Don't know what just happened. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this developed while I was writing. I don't remember it being a thing. So I will be interested to look at the footage of this to see when that little bit of screw-on part showed up above the nib there. This pen may go off for a bath tonight. Let's see if I can show this. All of a sudden, I didn't notice till it wouldn't snap on, this weird screw-on piece appeared. So I'm going to take it apart here. I swear this was not a screw pen. Okay, figured it out. This trim ring came unscrewed. Weird. Now we look normal. This goes back in, this old-fashioned converter. Still works, so they did something right back whenever it was they made this pen. The 60s or 70s, I think. And we're writing again, so all is right with the world again. And it clicks back in place. All right. Emergency averted. My next pen is by a more expensive brand. Oh, whoops. Where'd it go? Yeah, so you may see part of why I got this one a little cheaper than it should be. A lot cheaper than it should be. There's supposed to be a snowflake there. A little bird splat. From the top of Montblanc. So this is a Montblanc, and I don't care. It still writes well, so that's what I care about. Montblanc 225. This is a pen that could easily be a daily writer. You know, it's a slip cap. It's comfortable in the hand. It looks good. It writes well. I just like my Lamy 2000. So the ink in it is Iroshizuku. Murasaki-shikibu. Which is named after a famous Japanese lady poet. It's just kind of a nice purple ink. And I say nice, as in non-objectionable. When I run out of this bottle, this one too will not be replaced. Actually, on this page, the only one I'm ever likely to replace is the Brilliant Black and the Sakuranezumi, because I like those two a lot. Although probably I should not replace the black, because I like Lamy Black and Parker Black a little bit better. Alright, my next pen is Italian. Comes from, I think, Turin, if I remember right. Auroras are made in Turin, where that, that fake burial cloth is located, I think. So burial shroud. Anyway, so this is a nice orange pen. Nice, cheerful. It's not like the old ones. I like the old ones a lot. This is a modern one, but they are still good pens. Maybe not quite what the old ones were, but I've mentioned my fear. I'm not a Luddite, but I love my vintage pens, so I do have an unconscious bias. Well, let's just be clear. So the ink in this is Sailor Jentle Apricot. So, very nice, bright orange color. Oh, and it's discontinued. But it was discontinued before and they brought it back, so I have hope. I mean, it's not the most amazing orange, but it does have nice shading and it is just so bright and cheerful. How can you not love it? I don't like the color orange. Okay, so my next pen brings some sad news, and I don't remember if I shared this last week, but I've had it confirmed now by a reputable source. This is the Platinum President, a platinum model that I really like, and it has been discontinued by Platinum. I briefly went on Dan Smith, the Nib Smith's website. I thought about ordering one of these in a fine nib, just so I'd have one. And then I thought, why? I have one that I like. Why buy another one just because it's discontinued? So I didn't. So that's one more out there for you guys. I've just really liked the shape of this. I like how it feels in my hand. I like the nib. It's just a good pen. So I'm kind of sad that they've discontinued it. I don't think the nib is discontinued. Whoops, IN. Because the nib will continue to be used on their much more expensive Platinum Izumo line. The president has just been allowed to languish, and it's just not as exciting the way they made the Platinum 376, and it doesn't have the fun Urushi or Makie finishes like the Izumo. So it's just a plastic pen that supposedly is their flagship, but yeah, she done. So this is, sorry, let me try that again. Sumi ink. No, don't sue me. Kyara green. Well, that don't look like no green to me, no how, no dang. Oh, you're right. It looks like black. I enjoy the bottle for this ink. When I finally someday empty this ink bottle out, I'll keep it and use it for something else. But it is just a super, super dark green that is so dark you get no indication of just that there even is a green in it. You gotta like almost squint and maybe lie to yourself a little bit to see the green in that puppy. And my last pen, the lovely Pelikan M1000. Lamy went up to a 2000, but Pelikan is only at the 1000 level. Mr. Squirrel, that don't mean the same thing. I know it was a joke. Pelikan M1000, this has a medium nib. I'd kind of like to get a fine nib in this pen. This is also a discontinued ink, but, you know, Sailor will bring it back at some point, I'm sure. So this is Sailor, Jentle, Peche. Apparently that's a peach color. I'm not seeing it, but then again, I'm not from Georgia. So maybe the Georgians out there, or, well, we grew peaches in Pennsylvania too, so the Pennsylvanians can also correct me. Can let me know, maybe this is a peach color. Or maybe I only think that means peach. I mean, there's that possibility too, because I do not speak French. So those are the pens and inks that I have been using this week. I have an inked up Kaweco Sport full of highlighter ink that I have not touched since before school started. Still writes though, but didn't show up in the lineup because turns out I don't use a highlighter very often. I'll underline things, but highlighter isn't doing it for me. So anyway, other excitement, I've been doing a lot of line judging volleyball every time we have a home game. That means I can't do yearbook photos, but on a good note, I don't have to be in the crowd in the bleachers to take the photos because I'm, out line judging and not taking photos at all. But line judging, you've got a flag and you hold it up like that. Okay, pretend my Mirna is a flag. You hold it up like this to show that it's out of bounds, so it goes outside the line or it goes over the antennas or, God forbid, hits the antennas. Hold it forward to show it's on the line or inside the line. And then there's touch where you do this to the flag. So if the ball is going by and the girl just barely slaps her fingers as it goes sailing by, that's a touch. So those are all things you have to... Oh, and you have to watch the line when they serve. Make sure they don't step over it till the ball's been released from their hand. So that's the duties of a line judge. It's not hard. It just gets tedious because you start sitting there going, My brain is wondering, wait, was that in? Was that out? I don't know. We'll call something. We have a referee shortage right now. All of our referees retired, and they got talked into coming back because there's just nobody to take their place. Nobody wants to be a referee. I thought about it a little bit last night, when I was supposed to be paying attention to the lines, and I just thought, no, don't want to do that. Because I know why nobody else wants to do it either. People treat referees terrible. And I got to listen to it from one of the people who was complaining that we can't find referees, about how bad these two were. So I'm just like, yeah, there's why you can't find referees. So I won't do it. And, maybe they'll either bump up the pay or they'll, people will realize you got to treat referees better. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I know I'm not part of that answer. I'll line judge till somebody starts being an ass about it, then I'm done doing that. But usually it's the referee that gets the complaints because they make the final rulings. So, anyway, so I've been line judging volleyball. I've been doing that for, 18 years? Something like that. And, briefly thought about the referee thing this year, and I'm like, nope. So, there we go. All this time at school, of course, means my house is kind of messy. I won't show you because I'm embarrassed, but yeah, it's a mess in here, and so I'm going to spend a couple of hours this weekend sorting and cleaning it up, getting it back into order. I just am a lot happier with an organized house, and so I got to do it. And I can always tell when I'm busy because the house gets messy, and then the classroom starts to get messy, and I noticed today that my desk at school is starting to get messy, so I'm just going to take some time this weekend and straighten all that out. I have been doing some sports photography, just not of volleyball, because football is just a big mystery to me, so I take pictures of it. I get to be, down on the sidelines away from everybody, so that's nice. Got a few good photos. One of the fun kind of photos to get is when the players are really hot and sweaty and they kind of spray water in their faces. That actually makes cool photos. I got a good one last Friday of a kid. It was after dark, but with the lights and everything, you could see him. And yes, the lights were repaired in time for the football game, but this week the electrician has been doing more work to tidy it up. Speaking of that, I'm jumping back to the messy house thing. Apparently had a former student from 21 years ago stopped by the house. He says, your car was home, but you weren't. And I just thought, oh, thank God I wasn't home because my house is a mess. And I don't want people to see it like this. So anyway, that was part of my impetus to, do some cleaning this weekend. So that'll be part of my Saturday. Yeah, because Sunday I'm going to work down at the school and do some tidying up there. As far as other stuff I wrote down grocery planning. I guess I was just a little curious. I always, when the grocery store was on Main Street, it was easy to walk to it and pick up things 2 or 3 times a week just as I needed them. Now that it is outside of town, on the far side of town, and you have to walk alongside a busy highway to get to it, not so much. I've walked to it, I just not as often. So, usually that's a once-a-week trip. So I've gotten a lot better about planning my meals. I always have I use this as my grocery list. I have a program called Evernote, and through the week I just add items to my grocery list, and it syncs to my phone by magic. And I have a lot of my recipes on it now, so I can store the recipe on Evernote and a link to it on my grocery list, so that helps me meal plan and everything. So I'm just curious if you do that. I was a lot more seat of the pants back when I could easily walk to the grocery store. That's something I miss. I've been watching, more before school than now, but watching and reading a lot of stuff about city design and urban design, and a big piece of it is walkable neighborhoods. Good sidewalks, cars slowed down. Dense population of stores and things to go to. And I know in a small town you're not going to have like in a city, but one of the things I loved about this town that attracted me to it, when I moved here 15 years ago, 2 grocery stores right on Main Street, pharmacy on Main Street, hardware store on Main Street, all your basic businesses, including like office supplies and so on, right there on Main Street. There was even a department store on Main Street, and a restaurant or 2 on Main Street, clothing stores on Main Street, library just off Main Street, my barber just off Main Street, post office a block off of Main Street, furniture store, not that I buy furniture very often, but, a block off of Main Street. And that's one, if I buy furniture, I'm probably going to take it home in my car. I'm not going to walk home with a new bookshelf or something, or have it delivered. I've done that. But anyway, all on Main Street, and it's not anymore. Hardware store, the guy retired. New hardware store got built outside of town. Department store built a new store outside of town, right beside the hardware store. Grocery store moved out, built right beside the hardware store outside of town. Clothing store closed. The other clothing store closed. The other grocery store that didn't move out of town tried to hang on, and the selection was not nearly as good, but I could pick up my staples, but they closed. It's just not the nice walkable town that I moved to. And on that note, I guess some of the things I've been seeing, sorry, looking who's driving by. I've got a better idea why I don't like certain environments. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I used to go to a town called Olean, New York. That was our big city. Olean, New York isn't much, but it was our city, so that's where we'd go. There was a mall, small mall, but a mall. It was right on Main Street. Now, yes, you had to cross the parking lot to get to the Main Street, but it was on Main Street, still is. And then Main Street was lined with stores on both sides. There was a used bookstore, an office supply store, various clothing stores, all kinds of nice little shops up and down. And so you could walk around to a lot of things there. And library was even within walking distance. And the last time I was through Olean, which admittedly has been a while, a lot of the shops on Main Street had been torn down and been replaced by like a Walmart. Well, not a Walmart. What was it? A Walgreens. We don't have Walgreens in North Dakota. That's why I had to think. Walgreens is a chain, and in North Dakota, the pharmacies have to be owned by the pharmacist. So that just doesn't work for their business model. So, but anyway, it's just not what it was. And, how much of that's internet, how much of that is the fact that people like to drive everywhere. Fargo, North Dakota has a very nice downtown, but they built a lot more. And it's more what I've been, one of the people I was following was calling a strode. Roads are supposed to be for moving cars. That's their purpose. Streets are for moving people. So streets are where you have your little shops and so on, maybe some housing, especially if you can mix it up a little, that's always kind of nice. And if there are cars, they're very slowed down by conditions. But here in the U.S., we like our streets and everything wide, so the cars, the only thing slowing them down is the speed limit sign. And but then they have, maybe you can walk for a while on sidewalk, then the sidewalk disappears, long distances between each business, huge parking lots in front of the businesses. And I realized that's what I don't like about Fargo. A huge chunk of Bismarck, North Dakota. A large chunk of Rapid City. It's just not really walkable, especially, whoops, there goes the sidewalk. Walk along the street with all the cars doing 55. And, it's just not walkable. I stayed in Fargo for a few days this summer because of a class I was taking. And, I'd go for a walk every morning. And it's just, ew. It's not a nice city to walk in. The old part's nice, but all the new stuff, it's centered on cars, and the people are an afterthought. And the newest part down by the Microsoft building is just awful. It's these monochromatic apartment buildings and houses that all look the same, all made out of ticky-tacky and whatever that song says. And sidewalks just kind of at random, but really the sidewalk is only good for walking for exercise. You're not looking at shops, you're not looking at scenery, you're not looking at anything except the sides of these samey houses and apartment buildings, and the occasional big box business plopped down there. And realize that a lot of this country is being made to look like that, and it's just kind of a trend I hate to see. Wow, that was not the topic I was planning to go into tonight. I kind of went off there. I actually almost recorded some video in Dickinson about it. Because Dickinson's doing the same thing. They've got a kind of a cute main street. It's not amazing, but it's there. And then all these strode businesses. And, I was out grocery shopping. They still have a grocery store on Main Street, by the way, which I appreciate, although it's a small grocery store. But I was just thinking, maybe I could run up to Menards and get some. And then I look out and like, oh, yeah. I got to walk all that distance, and there's no sidewalk. Oh, jump in the car to drive just a few blocks. So, I don't like that development. And, it's a shame because a lot of people see nothing of it. Oh, I'm at Staples. Oh, we got to go next door to Barnes & Noble. So jump in the car, drive over to Staples. Oh, we got to go to the grocery store. Jump in the car, drive a block to the grocery store. I don't know. That just, to me, is not a town. That's not a community. How do you build community when you're all inside your cars? I've gotten comments when I've driven through some of the towns in my videos that there's no people. That's right, because why would they be walking around? There's nothing for them. So, I hope that made sense. I like I said, that was not my planned topic. I just had a couple of random school things I was going to talk about. But here I am. Urban design and house design are two topics of huge interest to me. I had thought at one time about being an architect. I learned pretty early on that architect wasn't the career I thought it could be, because my idea was it would be fun to do residential architecture and design the not so big house, the small houses, not mini houses, just small houses. But not where the money is, and it would have been hard to start my own practice. I would have been working for somebody else, designing for somebody else, and really would not have been designing my own houses. I'd be designing for a client, and it just I realized architecture wasn't for me. And same thing with urban design. If I design the street out here for the people, drivers are going to complain because I don't feel safe, so I have to drive slow. That's the point! Make the streets narrow. Put trees on them. Put obstructions. Make people have to slow down. So you don't need to have the cop sitting out there with the radar gun saying, oh, you exceeded 25 miles an hour. You naturally go 25 miles an hour because that's the speed where you feel safe. Their solution in this town, put on random stop signs for no reason. Just to slow people down. Yeah. So, off the topic. Okay, I could go on a rant. I probably already did. So a couple other things I wrote down, just a couple of school things. I ordered some stuff over the summer. This blew my mind. Apparently, and I've never had this happen before, apparently when you order stuff for school from some companies, they can decide to cancel your order. Not tell you. Just cancel your order and quietly refund the money. So stuff I was counting on having the first day of school this year, no, don't have it. Didn't know I didn't have it. Just surprise, it's not here. And finally get hold of somebody at the company who says, oh yeah, we canceled that order. We did refund your money. Thanks. So I have been trying to find an alternate solution, and yeah, found it. So now it's another project for this weekend. So, yay! And of course, you got your correcting. I'm trying to stay caught up on that and creating new lessons. Had quite a run around. We're using Google SketchUp in one of my classes and had quite a run around about getting the licensing for that. But so I was making up lessons for almost 2 weeks, of stuff that I'd written down. We're going to do this in end of October, beginning of November. So they were like rough ideas that sort of end of September I would flesh out. Nope. So those first couple of weeks in that class were bad because here's me trying to accomplish these barely formed ideas. So that was fun. Mostly the classes are going well. One thing that has come up, this last year and the COVID year, we had to do everything electronically because we had some students on computer at home, some at school, and they never knew when they'd be sent home. And so, we had to be able to provide instruction on both simultaneously, which was awful. We don't have to do that this year. If they're at home, they're considered absent. In a special case, we might come up with something, but they're just considered absent. And so I had all my handouts and everything. I put them on OneNote. Well, if you've ever taught a room full of kids, what are they going to do? If they have to have their device open, because we are a one-to-one school, are they going to be taking notes? Are they going to be paying attention, following along? Oh no. Games going on, putting on TikTok or whatever that bull is. Anything but what they should be doing, because they're kids. And you might be saying, well, not me. You were no different. You may not have had the computer in front of you in school, but you had plenty of ways to distract yourself. So I've gone back to paper this year. Not afraid of computers. My freshmen are going to be analyzing data using histograms starting on Monday, and you do a little bit by hand so they know what's going on, but then the computer saves you a lot of time and effort, and you can focus on the reading the histogram and interpreting it rather than making it. So, the computers have their place. I'm not anti-computer. But I've switched back to paper handouts, and it has been wonderful. Paper, I don't think, is ever going to go away. It is a vital part of thinking. It's a vital part of focus. And it really helps people pay attention. And if they're not paying attention, it's easier to see. Because when, I know this isn't a computer, it's just a telephone. But when you're seeing this only sitting on the desk, you don't know what's going on the other side. And you try walking around, and kids are very good about, quick minimize all those windows. And you're focusing on that rather than on the teaching. And it's just, I'm happier with paper. And having paper in the labs rather than a device, wonderful. Now, yes, we will have devices in our labs sometimes because I like to use electronic sensors. They just save a lot of effort. And again, the kids can focus on the concept I'm teaching rather than operation of the equipment and a whole bunch of math. So, not anti-technology. I'm talking to you on YouTube. But I definitely not a throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I was kind of trending toward more electronic before the COVID thing. I was experimenting with using OneNote for my handouts and all of that. But, and having students take their notes in OneNote. But man, not anymore. So, and it helped too. I had some good classes where it wasn't a problem, but I've had some classes just lately where it is a problem. So it's really nice to just, no, you don't need your computer out. You can just put that away. Nope, you don't even need it open. You can just close that little lid and take out your little pencil and write. And, they also can't hide cell phones and things behind their device this way. So it's just kind of a win. So, yeah, I may sound a little bit like a Luddite, but like I said, I'm not anti-technology. I'm just technology in its place. I do a lot of note-taking on paper myself. I do have a nice little tablet that I use, a remarkable tablet, for those of you who know what that is. Mostly I use that at school. I don't do much electronic note-taking here at home, but it's been perfect for work. Where, oh, I need that notebook now. Oh, I need to refer to that. It's wonderful. So, and of course, I've mentioned Evernote. You know that one of the links at the bottom of this video description is going to be to an Evernote page that has a photograph of the pens and a photograph of the writing sample, and sometimes has other photographs, but not that week. So, yeah, not a Luddite. I like technology. I would rather do digital photography than film photography. Yeah, maybe the image would be better with film, but the digital lets me experiment. Last week at the football game, I took almost 1,000 photographs. Got it down to about 70 that I actually uploaded. And it's very quick to go through them. You just XXX, oh, XXX, oh, that's a good one, X. That takes care of about 900 of them. Then you go through the other 100 quick again. And yeah, and you take risks. You're willing to what they call spray and pray. Is that the phrase? Where you just, oh, something cool's going to happen. So you use the auto shutter. Kind of fun. And if I was doing sports with film, I shudder to think. I know I wouldn't have that many photos, but like, okay, I'm only photographing this if I'm sure it's going to be good. And of course, you'd probably use the burst mode and have to have the drive going and hope the film doesn't shred. But, then you're throwing away cash rather than a half second of your time every time you throw away a film photograph. So I like technology just in its place. So anyway, that was my pens in use. I went in a totally different direction than I was planning to go. You got 2 rants out of me. A small one on photography, 3 rants. A small one on technology, and a larger one about urban design. So maybe one of these days I ought to do a driving video on urban design. It would actually make sense because I could use my car and drive these streets that I'm like, I don't want to walk here. So we'll see. That might be actually kind of fun to do a driving video that way. There are people that do the topic better than I do, but who knows? I might have something useful to add. I don't know. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.